In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is Blood Politics, and we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet, and we ain't gonna be scared, and we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is Blood Politics.
All right, how is everybody doing? What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Appreciate you joining me once again. I know I'm a couple minutes early. I know it might be a few minutes before people start to filter in, but I do have a hard out at 4. I got a wedding to go to tomorrow. Unfortunately, the only haircut appointment I could get was at 4:30. So Uber's picking me up. Going to be a hard out. So appreciate you guys for sticking with me. There's a lot to get through, and I wanted to make sure that we kind of gave it the time necessary. But yeah, why don't we say hi to the chat as always. What's going on, guys? How are you? Appreciate you guys. Let me throw you on the screen because you guys deserve some screen time as well. What's up, Willie? What's up, SFD? What's going on, Yakov? What's up, Moms? What's up, Patui? What's up, Will? What's going on, guys? Hey, Corey. What's up, Tiff? Thank you as always. What's up, M2M? What's happening, guys? Appreciate you there. Appreciate you as always. What's up, Shannon? How are you? Good to see you there in the chat. I appreciate you guys. Thank you to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, as always, Instagram, wherever you guys follow me. I am on all of the social media platforms if you want to check me out there. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thank you. And like I said, just hopping on a little bit early because I do have a hard out at 4. But I want to make sure that we try to get through as many of the stories as we possibly can. Let me see if I can throw a couple of them on the screen today that we'll be discussing because we're going to start off with a couple fuck around and find out moments, I guess for the second time in a row. But, you know, we got some January 6th rioters that were pardoned by Trump that have been wrapped up in pretty much exactly what you'd expect them to be engaged in. So we'll be taking a look at that. Obviously, we'll be taking a look at the 92,000 jobs lost in the month of February. Again, I think that's only the second time since the pandemic, or even before the pandemic. If I'm getting that wrong, I apologize. But it hasn't happened much. I know it didn't happen under Biden. So we'll be diving into that. Susie Wiles is sounding the alarm as far as gas prices is concerned. And not only that, but we have seen, a substantial uptick in gas prices, especially in red states where these people seemingly voted for all of this. So we'll be going over a lot of that. The Justice Department is now publishing the documents that we brought up on the show a bunch of times involving Donald Trump, involving the FBI, and what they seemingly were deeming a credible witness in the 4 times or more that they met the witness. So we'll be talking about those documents outlining the allegations involving Trump. We've already dove into them to a certain aspect, but I think it's definitely important to keep covering that. We also have Donald Trump somehow calling for the unconditional surrender in a not war. Again, how does one surrender when they're not at war? I'm just kind of curious. I'm just asking questions here. So we'll go over this ridiculous statement from, again, the leader of a country that says they're not at war. We'll be diving into, Russia, how they've been, helping Iran as far as targeting U.S. military forces. Just another reason why we should be taking out the Kremlin in my eyes. And then obviously we'll be taking a look at some of the U.S., Israeli, and Iranian strikes that have continued. Tehran retaliates. Iran's getting carpet bombs still. So we'll be taking a look at all of that to come. The White House releasing just more ridiculous and insane propaganda videos. I want to show you that one. We got a ton to dive into. James O'Brien, again, I think we got a couple as far as James O'Brien is concerned, given his opinions on what's been going on and taking place with this ridiculous war. And then we got some, I don't know if you guys know who Roman is, NFKRZ on YouTube. He's a Russian exile. I'm not sure where he's stationed at right now. I know he's in Portugal for a little bit, Not 100% sure where he is right now, but he's talking about the rhetoric as far as the U.S. government calling this a special military operation and how he's heard this before, talking about how Vladimir Putin in his country deals with it. So I thought that would give us some pretty good insight as to where the United States is getting this, like, oh, let's call it a special military operation. Let's call it anything but a war type of plan that they have going. And again, if we have time, there's this Sun video that I wanted to take a look at, which shows the terrifying moment in which cluster bombs rained down on Tel Aviv. Again, getting through the Iron Dome, and then rounding it out, we got some Benny Johnson cope that I want to get into as well. So I appreciate you guys very much. Oh, SFD, what's going on? Appreciate that. When Biden was president, he forced the oil companies to use their drilling permits to help keep oil prices down. Thank you so much for starting it off in the right way. Appreciate the $5 contribution. Shout out to you and anybody else that wants to, chime in and chip in the same way. You can do it in the chat. You can do it via Venmo up here in the corner, a buck or two. That's all I ask for. Anything above and beyond that is totally up to you guys. And then you can sign up for a YouTube membership just underneath me. You can go to patreon.com/Boston Brian. We don't sell you any products here. We don't, sell you any bullshit. There's none of my content hidden behind a paywall. So all we do is ask for, generous contributions from the viewers to help keep this thing going. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. If you guys could help, that would be fantastic. Thank you for starting it off in the right way, though, SFD. I appreciate that. All right, let's dive into a little bit of fuck around and find out territory, if I may. This is, again, a January 6th rioter that was pardoned by Trump, as a lot of them have gone on to commit even more egregious crimes after their pardon. This guy following in the same footsteps as a bunch of these sick psychopathic motherfuckers. So this was a guy convicted by a Florida jury of sexually abusing children, including an 11-year-old. Per the police, Andrew Paul Johnson tried to bribe one of his victims by promising to share expected January 6th restitution money from the Trump administration. So quite literally using the Trump administration's ploy of giving these sickos more money after they pardon them as a reason or as justification to bribe, these individuals to keep quiet of these crimes. And this is the psychopath here in question. And I'm sure you guys are like, oh man, I really wish we could see some footage of that guy at court, facing his day, facing his sentence. And you guys are in luck because we also have some of that to show you too. Because this is that sorry son of a bitch here in the courtroom, basically apologizing. I want to say to family members that might be behind him. I have trouble suspecting that it was family of the victim or victims in this case. But yeah, let's take a look at this as he
Department of Corrections.
And he finds out. This is the find out portion of the fuck around aspect. So check this out.
As a sentence as to count 1 of life in prison. As to count 2, 15 years, Florida Department of Corrections. As to count 3, 5 years, Florida Department of Corrections. As to count 4, 15 years, Florida Department of Corrections. As to count 5, 15 years.
Fucking throw that key away.
And as to count 6, you were found not guilty. And the court finds that.
I hope you got a good look at that sun before you went in there, because it'll be the fucking last time you see it for a long time, or at least it should be the last time you see it for a long fucking time. I hope the next time that you actually get to fucking, or at least your corpse gets to breathe fresh air, is the moment that you get a fucking open casket funeral. Okay, that's about it. That's about the next time that you should breathe fresh air, you sicko. Okay, so good riddance. Lock him up, throw away the key, whatever you want to do, stick him in, because he's going to have one hell of a time in prison. I can tell you that much, because as we all know, typically, even as corrupt and as chaotic as prison systems are, they typically don't like and stand for one thing. I'm sure there's multiple things, but it's typically one type of person inside the prison system that, like, the majority of motherfuckers in there group together and go against, right? Like, no matter if you're white, black, Latino, whatever it may be, like, the one thing that everybody can pretty much agree on is who should be targeted inside these prison systems, and that's about as far as I'll go in that one. Hey, what's up, CSL? What's going on, guys? Appreciate that. What's going on? Hope everything's well over there, CSL. Appreciate you joining us, my friend. Always good to see you. Appreciate anybody joining us right now. I know he hopped on a little bit early today, but again, just to reiterate, I have a hard out at 4, so I figured I'd hop on just a couple minutes early to see if we could get through all of the nonsense and all of the ridiculousness and the clips that I have pulled up for you guys. So thank you so much, CSL, for being here and pushing people this way. I do appreciate it. So thank you guys. But yeah, lock them up, throw away the key. Nobody couldn't happen to a better guy. You know what I mean? Couldn't happen to a better guy. So, all right. I just wanted to make sure we start off with the FAFO portion of this. Again, jumping into a little bit of the news everybody's discussing this morning, which is the obvious poor and expected, I would say, considering the corrupt and idiotic nature of this regime that we now have in place. I think we can continue to, expect to see things like this continue. You know what I mean? Because the U.S. unexpectedly, which is, again, I would change, expectedly lost 92,000 jobs in February. 92,000 jobs. And I think we were expected to get something like 55 or something like that. So, on the net, even worse than what it says here. And again, this is just a short clip from Bloomberg kind of discussing the latest jobs report and what it means. Not only that, but I think the broader economic impacts on the economy as a whole. So let's see if we can just dive into a minute of this. Again, this is on top of the already ridiculous amounts of hardship that the American citizens are facing right now as just living in everyday life, just putting groceries in the kitchen, right? Getting your kids to school, putting gas in the tank, like everything right now is just a struggle for everybody. And I just would like to, extend my condolences to everybody and just recognize that I do understand the plight and how difficult it is for you guys right now. And I know everybody says gift here and donate here and do this and support here. It's just not possible for everybody. Okay. And I want to make sure that we continuously make sure to recognize that. So, as much as you guys do, if you could just share and subscribe, the free stuff that is totally 100% helpful to the channel. And I understand, like I said, not everybody's in the financial position to do all of the shit that everybody asks you to do when you watch shows like this. So that's why we don't sell you any ridiculous products. We're not trying to lie to you and say something changed my life when I got it yesterday in the mail and they're giving me some discount and, QR code to sell it. Nothing like that, right? You're not going to see my live interrupted by, 14 advertisements, not by me at least. You know what I mean? I can't really help what the platforms do, but you're not going to see my channel do it. So, all right, let's dive into just a couple minutes of this. We got a ton to dive into afterwards. We'll get into Susie Weil, also, sounding the alarm over gas prices, which should tell us everything we need to know about how prepared they were for this. So let's dive into this. I appreciate you guys. Oh, sorry. You know what I probably should do is put the right one on the screen. That would help.
Here's Mike McKee. Morning, Mike.
Well, Chris Waller is going to be having a heart attack now. 92,000 jobs lost during the month. Last month's 130,000 revised down to 126,000. Not a major revision down, but a loss of 92,000 jobs. Now, there is certainly going to be some weather involved in that, and we'll check on that in just a second. The total payroll revision over 2 months is minus 69,000. So you got to add those two things together.
No, I'm no fucking day trader, like by any stretch of the imagination, but is red's bad, right? I'm just red is bad. I'm just kind of curious. Which way does that kind of lean? When you see red on a graph like this and dealing with the stock market in general, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. Learn me.
Private payrolls down 86,000. Manufacturing payrolls down 12,000. Average hourly earnings up 0.4%, puts the year over year at 3.8%. That's a tick higher than it was. Average weekly hours 34.3. And the Labor Department says we'd see a decline in that probably if there was a weather effect. So it isn't clear that that is the case yet. And labor force participation drops to 62%. So some bad news on the labor front. Now, on the retail sales front, and these are January numbers delayed by the government shutdown, retail sales headlines dropped by 0.2, but ex-autos.
Jesus Christ. So what was that? Retail, construction, manufacturing. What are the other subsets that are also seen to go down in this regard? And everybody's like, oh yeah, they're doing a great job. Trump's like fucking out there touting the infrastructure that's being built, all these factories, all the manufacturing jobs, all the construction jobs, right, that he's brought in with all the tariff money and everybody fucking investing in the United States. Well, then how? okay, so then how do you factor that into the fact that like both manufacturing and construction jobs have both seen a fucking downtick in that regard? Unemployment has gone from what? I think it was 4.3 to now 4.4, something in that range. Like, again, how do you put those two things together? I'm just curious.
Are flat. Weather may be an impact there. Control group up 0.3%.
That's another thing you keep hearing. They keep, trying to blame it on the weather. But as he goes on to say here, it wasn't much of an impact. Did it have an impact? Sure. Was it much of an impact? No. They want to bring up the strike in California. But again, that doesn't stop the rest of the numbers from being absolutely shockingly poor. Right. I mean, that's still, again, we compare it to Biden's numbers. You compare it to, again, numbers going even before COVID. And again, this is, again, not something that we're looking for as far as numbers here, statistics in the United States.
After a flat reading in December, so a bit of an improvement, but not a huge jump in retail sales. So the numbers aren't particularly overall good this morning. I'll look at the further details for you.
And that's an understatement right there. And again, add that to this kind of thing that we've been talking about and keeping an eye on. This is from Politico. Susie Wiles sounds the alarm on gas prices. White House aides and cabinet officials are coming under intense pressure to reverse the spike in energy prices caused by the start of the war in the Middle East. Now, if the administration, right, if the regime was really prepared for this, if they had, strategies in place, if they had exit ramps, if they had plan A, B, and C, and they knew what to look for and deal with, they knew what the side effects and the secondary impacts were going to be of this war, don't you think they would have had something in place already as far as a plan to mitigate the definite knowledge that everybody had that the strategy of the Iranians was to attack, the oil infrastructure in order to, raise the price on the world stage, which would obviously affect everybody in a way that would have them looking at this and wanting an end to it? I mean, doesn't it seem like something that would be thought about, typically? No, but it seems like there's scrambling now behind the scenes here. Susie Wiles is now under intense pressure, as it says here, to reverse the spike now that it's already starting to impact, the American people and their wallets, when they go out to fill up their gas tanks. It's kind of crazy, right? I mean, they've even called for, we could see as much as $150 a barrel at some point. This is Donald Trump's chief of staff. Susie Wiles is telling his advisors to bring ideas to the Oval Office. So they're at the idea phase, okay? They have concepts of an idea at this plan. At this point right now, they're still working on the concepts to the plans. They're literally calling people on the phone hey, can you come to the White House with a fucking plan on how we can lower these gas prices? So you can see the chaos and the confusion that's happening behind the scenes in the wake of the U.S. attack on Iran, according to two energy industry executives familiar with the conversations. The White House is, quote, looking under every rock for ideas on improving energy prices, especially gasoline prices, says one of the execs who was granted anonymity to describe internal administration discussions. The attack on Iran's subsequent targeting of the Persian Gulf's energy sector has sent crude up by more than $10 a barrel, lifting gasoline prices to their highest level since Trump took office last year. Energy Secretary Chris Wright and other advisors focused on energy, and they were all making the rounds this morning, trying to do Donald Trump's bidding, trying to get ahead of this in any way, that not only the gas reports, but also the jobs numbers, trying to paint a pretty picture on that one, but it just isn't working for most of them. And it says here that Interior Secretary Doug Burgum are, quote, getting screamed at to find some good news on bringing down prices. The same executive said, quote, folks are scrambling for announcements and messaging to counter the narrative of rising prices, this person said. So, again, you can see not only the chaos with the firing of Kristi Noem in this ridiculous position they made up for her, something that nobody on the planet has ever fucking heard of. So not only do they have that going on, right? Add that to all the fucking chaos and confusion, but now they got this running on behind the scenes. This would be I don't know. Again, there's going to be movies made, documentaries made. There's going to be series made on this. What a fucking timeline we are living in. What an absolute dumpster fire of a regime we are now being led by. And it's leading to shit like this. And again, I hope people in the red states that voted for Donald Trump 3 times are very happy. Again, even if you voted for him once, I hope you're fucking very happy for what you're now seeing because you voted for it. This is what you wanted. This is what you wanted. Shut the fuck up. Okay. So this is from Patrick DeHaan, and he says, update. States with the biggest rise in gas prices compared to a week ago. Indiana, West Virginia, Ohio, Florida, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Texas, Maryland, Georgia, Minnesota. Okay, what do we notice about, the majority of those? Okay, so we're talking about in Indiana, since last week, a 47-cent rise in per gallon. West Virginia, 47-cent rise. Ohio, 46. Florida, 44. Louisiana, 43. Oklahoma, 42. Texas, 41. Maryland, 41. Georgia, 41. Minnesota, 39. Right? So again, just kind of, I want you to recognize the correlation between the majority of those states and who they most likely voted for. Again, you know what I mean? So this is affecting people that have already been put under immense pressure by the cost of goods, by the rise in prices that has been literally exponential. I mean, we were just talking this one, haircuts in general. Like we're literally paying over twice as much that I remember, and I know I'm fucking aging myself in this regard here. You know what I mean? Like when I went to school, we walked uphill both ways in the snow. Like I understand, but like to pay $80-something in California for a haircut was a fucking shock and a half. Okay. I damn nearly put the fucking hair back on my head with some glue and told them to fucking piss off. But again, it's not much cheaper here in Massachusetts. I mean, we're talking probably 50, 60, talking depending on what you give as a tip after that. I mean, it gets expensive. When I was used to 15, 25 being an expensive haircut, right? And I know I'm aging myself, yada, 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 whatever you want to say. But I mean, that's just kind of the facts of the matter. That's just the reality of things. And it's not just me saying, it's everybody talking about it. And that's not just haircuts. It's going to the grocery store. It's going to the doctor. It's going to the pharmacy. It's getting insurance. It's, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? It's exponentially more expensive. Meanwhile, the American people, the workers in this country have not seen a pay increase to match the rise in what the cost of living is. And that's been going on for generations at this point. And people are fucking fed up, okay? People are at the tipping point as far as that's concerned. And I don't fucking blame them because I'm right there with you. Right there fucking with you. So when you see shit like this, with the gas prices rising for people that quite clearly voted for this to happen, not once, not twice, 3 times over, then again, it's very difficult to feel sympathy and empathy for them at that moment in time. But again, a lot to get into. On to this next thing that we definitely need to keep an eye on here. There's another Politico article talking about how the Justice Department published the documents with sexual assault allegations against Trump. I do believe they were the ones that were published, taken down, now kind of republished. Either that or we're talking about the actual notes and filings that the FBI didn't initially publish, because I do remember covering the email that explicitly talked about this incident. So again, this is just basically the fact that the Justice Department was trying to cover up those seemingly. So this talks about how the department shared FBI documents outlining allegations involving Trump, and this was the allegation that Trump assaulted a teenager after a sexual performance in which the victim bit down on the genitals of Donald Trump. Donald Trump went on to assault, again, physically, or more physically. I don't know how you put that. My apologies. But went on to, punch the victim in this case. So I do remember talking about this on the show. The Justice Department posted a trio of FBI interviews with a woman who alleged President Donald Trump sexually assaulted her when she was a young teenager after she was introduced to him by Jeffrey Epstein. The woman's central allegations, according to FBI summaries of her interviews with investigators known as FBI 302s, is that Trump hit her after she bit his genitalia when he attempted to force her to perform oral sex. The 3 files come as Democrats are investigating whether the department purposefully withheld materials that included sexual assault allegations against Trump. Trump had denied wrongdoing in relation to the Epstein allegations and hasn't been charged with a crime in connection with them. There's no evidence to suggest Trump. I find this very fucking hard to even write down. Like, what? I don't get this. I understand to a point covering your ass legally at this aspect, especially with the retribution that we've seen Donald Trump enact against, different publications. But to say that there's no evidence to suggest that Trump took part in Epstein's sex trafficking operation, I believe is just wholly untrue, right? I think that's just ridiculous. I think there's ample evidence to suggest, right? I mean, if we're talking about proving at this point, then I understand the legal ramifications of the rhetoric that you're using. But to say that there's no evidence to suggest, we're talking about flight logs, we're talking about, serious allegations disgusting allegations, sexual allegations against Donald Trump, very specifically, as far as we've seen come out in the files. The pictures of him being there, the proximity of his locations and living to Jeffrey Epstein, the underage girls being poached from the spa at Mar-a-Lago. To say there's no evidence to suggest that Trump took part in the trafficking operation is just fucking bullshit at this point. Okay, in my opinion, I guess I'll speak for myself in that regard. White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt called the allegations completely baseless accusations backed by zero credible evidence from a sadly disturbed woman who has an extensive criminal history. Yada, yada, yada. She goes on to blame Joe Biden somehow. In the files dated between August and October 2019, the woman whose name is redacted alleges that when she was between 13 and 15 years old, Epstein took her to either New York or New Jersey, where, quote, in a very tall building with huge rooms, end quote, he introduced her to Trump. Trump, she said, didn't like that I was a boy girl, which the interview notes interpreted to mean tomboy. The woman said that there were other people present, but she couldn't recall who. Trump asked them to leave the room, then said, quote, something to the effect of, let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be, end quote. According to the interview notes, Trump then unzipped his pants and put her head down to his genitalia. She recalled in the interview, she said she, quote, bit the shit out of it. In response, she said he pulled her hair and punched her on the side of her head. Quote, get this little bitch the hell out of here. The woman recalled him saying at that point, she said people re-entered the room. The FBI interviews don't contain information on how the incident ended or how the woman exited the encounter. In one of the interviews, the woman disclosed that she had begun working with attorneys and wanted to, quote, wanted to be upfront about her pending civil case in the event the agents determined a conflict of interest could occur. The woman said she or people close to her received a series of threatening phone calls, one of which included a message left on the phone of a coworker but intended for her. She told the FBI she believed the calls were related to Epstein and, quote, stated under her breath that if it was not Epstein, maybe it was the other one. When agents press her on who she meant, she said Trump, according to the interview notes. So in the final interview, agents again asked her about the allegations concerning Trump, noting in the document he was the, quote, current U.S. president. The woman, according to the interview summary, asked, quote, what the point would be of providing the information at this point in her life when there was a strong possibility nothing could be done about it. Trump has faced allegations of sexual assault and sexual misconduct before, including accusations from multiple women who came forward during the 2016 presidential campaign. And then, of course, as we know, in 2023, he was found liable by a federal jury for having sexually abused and defamed the writer E. Jean Carroll after Carroll claimed Trump raped her in a Manhattan department store in the 90s and then denied her account of rape, calling her a liar. Trump had asked the Supreme Court to overturn the $5 million judgment the jury awarded Carroll. Carroll also won an $83.3 million judgment in 2024, as we remember, because of the remarks that Trump used to defame her. So, again, the ongoing cover-up persists. The reasons as to why the DOJ would hide these notes, would hide these other specific documents pertaining to this matter is pretty clear. I don't think anybody's guessing. I don't think there's anybody like, we have to do some Columbo work to figure out why they wouldn't release these, wouldn't publish these to begin with. Again, pretty dumb knowing that the emails were out there already talking about this specific incident. I mean, again, we remember bringing it up on the show here. We remember talking about it on the show here. So again, this incident was already out there for the public to know about. So to think that people weren't going to ask questions about it, people weren't going to inquire as to, where the notes that were taken, where are the recordings from the four, I believe I'm getting that right. I think there was 4 different meetings between the FBI and the victim. So why were those withheld? I think it's pretty clear. Obviously, we don't have to start asking questions as far as that's concerned. But, obviously something to keep an eye on as to what people dig up. We have to figure out how we could kind of substantiate these claims, not only these claims, but the hundreds, if not thousands of other claims against Donald Trump and his cohorts that still need to be substantiated, that still need to be corroborated. Again, no, open investigations that we know about as far as the DOJ, Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, are going after any of these individuals. They think because they redacted the files, because they broke the law that Donald Trump signed into law, they're all set. That's all. That's the only job that they needed to do. There's really nothing further that they have to, do from here, which is pretty much what Todd Blanche has been saying. I mean, it's clear as to why. But again, we continue to talk about the ongoing cover-up by the DOJ, by the federal government to hide Donald Trump's involvement in this. But again, there are still steps that need to be taken. We could have all of this information out there, but if we want to see action, if we want to see justice, if we want to see accountability, there is still action that needs to be taken. There are still steps to an investigation. There are still things that need to be found out. Did the meeting actually take place? Were these people in the same state that is purported in these allegations at the time? And then you work down from there. Okay, were they in the same vicinity? Is there flight logs? Is there business records? Is there fucking hotel records? Are there cab whatever it may be? Go back and whatever we could find to determine whether or not these things are in fact true or untrue, so that we could prosecute when the time to come, when the time is available for us to prosecute them. Then we have this shit ready to go. You know what I mean? We're not fumbling and mumbling like the DOJ is hoping happens. So they're hoping that once Donald Trump, even when he gets out of office, if he fucking allows himself to get out of office, right, that we're going to be scrambling and have no investigations in place. We'll have not corroborated or confirmed any of the, the sick, disgusting, dark allegations and very specific and detailed allegations that seem to line up with other allegations very similarly, right? So again, the through line is there through Donald Trump's entire life, the shit that he said, right? The facts that we know, the pictures that we've seen with him and Epstein, right? All of the evidence to come out, even in the files that we have seen so far, like it's all pointing to one thing. And that is Donald Trump's tacit involvement, complete and total involvement, knowledge, whether it be criminally, whether it be sexually, whether it be financially, or all fucking three, in what Jeffrey Epstein had going on, in what Ghislaine Maxwell had going on. There is no fucking other path right now. There's no finger pointed in any other direction. And again, we can always see and count on Pam Bondi and the DOJ and the FBI to cover this up, to do everything possible to make it as difficult for us to get the accountability and justice that these victims and survivors demand, right? That they deserve, that they have put themselves out there time and time again, only to have the backlash, only to have the retribution, only to have the death threats come their way every single time, only to get stabbed in the fucking back by this government, only to have Pam Bondi not be able to fucking turn around and even look them in the fucking eyes, only to have Kash Patel not honor them with a meeting, only to have Donald Trump not honor them with a meeting. I mean, to the point where Marjorie Taylor Greene, fucking MAGA Marge, right? Jewish space laser Marge, fucking the MAGA sycophant herself, has now been ostracized, right? She has now been fucking kicked out of the thing. She's now been kicked out of the cult because of her involvement, because she stuck by, to whatever extent, the Epstein survivors, the laws that were passed, Ro Khanna, Thomas Massie. So again, that should tell you everything you need to know as to what is the most important thing. It's not loyalty in this. I mean, it's not like keeping the base together. It's not keeping the cult together. It's the defense and obfuscation from Donald Trump's involvement in the Epstein files. Again, the war in Iran, the threats to Greenland, the fucking bullshit with NATO, the bombing of Venezuelan fishing boats, the capture of Maduro, all of this fucking bullshit, right? As dangerous, as important it is to talk about, they do have us by the balls in this situation, right? Because it's these so-called distractions or whatever you want to call them, right, are that fucking dangerous, that important, and have that much fucking repercussions throughout the world that we need to pay it the appropriate attention it demands. But also that's given Donald Trump a victory because nobody's focused on his involvement, again, in the cover-up of the Epstein files and obviously the criminalities coming out of the Epstein files, which is a goddamn shame. So we move on, though, because talking about the decrepit orange son of a bitch that looks like an orange left out in the Florida sun for the last 35 years with no hydration, this is what he's putting on True Social. Again, we talked about how ridiculous it was for the rhetoric from the Republicans to come out. Again, even after they've been calling it a war for several days, whether it's Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump himself, Marco Rubio, Lindsey Graham, all the great warriors, and war is hell, and this is war. This is what happens in war. But all of a sudden, the memo came down from the big guy. The memo came down from the fucking White House Kremlin office itself and said, "Hey, we got to stop calling this a war. Like, this might change the legality of things. This might change the repercussions we may face if we continue to call this a war." Right? Because that limits us to a certain extent. That limits us to a certain period of time that we have before Congress needs to take action, right? even though we were supposed to have gone to them to begin with, right? That's just, we're way past that at this point. But this is him calling for the unconditional surrender, ladies and gentlemen, of a war that's not taking place, if you ask anybody in the administration. If you ask MAGA Mike Johnson, there is only a special military operation, and it's very controlled, and it's very specific, and it's very it's not, it's very detailed. It's only in one spot. Meanwhile, we got 14, 15 different countries involved in reality, right? We got war on multiple fronts. If we're talking about Israel now going after Hezbollah after they're striking, right? I mean, it's I know it's ridiculous on so many fronts. And I know there's only so many words we could use to describe it, like ridiculous, insane, like these keep coming to mind. And I apologize that I'm not being able to kind of expound on those adjectives, but it's just, I think those do a pretty good job at describing what's happening. But again, like he's fucking, like he's Churchill in World War II. They're demanding the unconditional surrender. After that, and the selection of a great and acceptable leaders, we and many of our wonderful, very brave allies and partners will work tirelessly to bring Iran back from the brink of destruction, which they have created here, making it economically bigger, better, and stronger than ever. Iran will have a great future, yada, yada, yada. But again, not only is he saying that they're demanding the unconditional surrender of an enemy in a war that we're not engaged in, apparently, but also still thinking that they're going to have a say, or they get that Iran's going to involve Donald Trump in a leader that they've already picked, right? Like, because they think Donald Trump doesn't like the Ayatollah's son, that they're going to be like, okay, yep, you know what? Donald Trump doesn't like the guy. You know what? We probably should do this again. Somebody send a plane over to get Donald. Tell him to come over here. He can handpick all of our leaders. So let's let that happen. Like, he honestly, truly believes that's something that may take place. Like, they're going to send a jet for him to come over. It's stupid. And again, to talk about stupid, the failure of Donald Trump and this regime to recognize that this was going to be a thing, or was a thing, seems to be another moment, another evidence of complete and total failure to be prepared for not only the action that you're taking, but also the reaction that comes from an action like this, right? You got to be ready for, the different factions and all of the, the separate regions and the surrounding regions and what they would do if they see it as an opportunity, if they see this as their time to strike for whatever purpose and plan that they have in the specific region that they now occupy, right? Like, what are the impacts, the secondary impacts to the American people? How could we mitigate those? You got to have those plans in place beforehand, not scrambling behind the scenes in the White House trying to figure out a plan now, while the American people are already paying exorbitant prices compared to what they were last week at the pump. So you got Russia giving Iran intel to target U.S. military forces, Washington said, which is kind of crazy because I do believe that Pete Hegseth was questioned specifically on whether or not he had a message for Russia or China or both in this instance. And he said, no, they have nothing to do with it. I have nothing to say about that. We have no message for them. Again, totally a failure in a moment where you need to use that opportunity to strike fear into the heart of the enemy, right? The one time where he should have gone above and beyond to make sure that our enemies know that we're not fucking around. And if they get involved and if they continue to work with Iran in this way or that way, that they're going to put themselves in the same position. Like, that would be one fucking position where I'd be okay with Pete Hegseth kind of flying off the handle as far as the Russians, teaming up with the fucking Iranians to target U.S. Soldiers. That I'd be okay with that. I would be okay with that. But he, in the one moment where he doesn't get a fucking skin ripping bone, raging hard on for the deaths of American servicemen and women, for war crimes in general, decides to back off, decides not to use the moment to send a message. I wonder if that was instructed upon him, right? I wonder if that was purposefully done, whether or not he didn't utilize that vital moment to send a message to Vladimir Putin for a specific reason. It makes you wonder, right? But again, as you see here, we'll just go on a couple sentences from this just to kind of show you the updates, give you the evidence to prove here. Russia is providing Iran with intelligence to help it strike American military forces in the Middle East, the Washington Post reported Friday, citing U.S. officials familiar with the matter. One official who spoke on condition of anonymity described the information sharing as a pretty comprehensive effort. Something you'd think the United States would be privy to, right, if their intelligence operati were working in the correct ways. We're being led by fucking anybody but just like brain dead morons. Like you'd think this would be something they'd be looking for, right? And trying to, maybe negotiate on back channels to stop beforehand. There's so many different layers to this in which they've failed. It's unbelievable to think. And again, James O'Brien kind of gets into a few of those. We'll be going into that in just a second. The targeted information is said to have included the locations of U.S. warships and aircraft. Iran's own ability to locate American forces has been degraded since the United States and Israel began launching devastating attacks on the country this weekend, thus putting more emphasis on the help by Russia, right? Because in this instance, it seems to me that they wouldn't have any capabilities remotely close to what they had, if not for the information and intelligence sharing by Russia in this aspect. There was no immediate response from Moscow to the allegations. Russia is one of Iran's closest partners, as we know. It has condemned U.S.-Israeli attacks on the Islamic Republic in just what is some of the most hypocritical statements you could possibly, hear from this country, from Russia in particular, condemning strikes on civilian sites and energy infrastructure, like just some of the most ridiculous bullshit you could possibly think of, considering what we know is continuously being undertaken every single day in Ukraine by Russia, right? The Iran Foreign Minister Abbas Arangchi, sorry, I'm definitely mispronouncing that one, and on NBC this week told that it said that the military cooperation between Iran and Russia is no secret. We have cooperated in the past, and this cooperation continues, and I hope it will continue in the future. Again, you'd think that Pete Hegseth would have something to say about that, but again, failed to use the opportunity to speak up on this matter, or apparently was just completely unaware, had not been filled in yet on this matter. It says here, Pete Hegseth said Wednesday that Russia, along with China, another Iran ally, was not really a factor. Not really a factor here, as you can see. Let me just make that a little bigger on your screen, because that is the current Secretary of Defense saying that Russia is not a factor, along with China, I may add, as we're hearing not only about the ongoing partnership and relationship that the Blunt Politics podcast has been speaking about for quite some time, that the chat here, the best chat on the internet, has known for quite some fucking time, right? Crazy that the Secretary of fucking Defense didn't know about this long-lasting and tight partnership that the Russians and the Iranians have, and about this intelligence sharing about specific targets that the Iranians are striking right now. Again, in a war that has already cost and spilled the blood of U.S. soldiers. Just the utter fucking incompetency by these people. The way in which they're, how we talked about, they're just not qualified in any regard for these positions. Like chalk the 6 deaths up that we've seen just on the U.S. side. We're not talking about the thousands already in Iran and the, what could be thousands in the surrounding regions already. But just the 6 U.S. servicemen and women that have lost their lives already. You can chalk that up to incompetence and lack of fucking having any skill set whatsoever to now occupy these positions. Zero qualifications whatsoever. This is what it gets you. Okay. So when we tell you that these fucking morons that were scooped off of the Fox News weekend couch in a drunken stupor, smelling like fucking whiskey, and thrown into some of the most important positions on the planet, that you could expect some dangerous shit to happen, and you guys are like, oh no, that's ridiculous. Pete Hegseth, he's got tattoos and shit. He was in the military. He was a captain. Of course, he's qualified to run every fucking thing, right? And again, we point to the fact that all the time you could talk to ex-military, current military themselves, and they'll be the first motherfuckers to tell you that not everybody in the Marines or the Army or the Navy or the fucking Space Force, just because they're serving, is qualified to be Secretary of Defense, right? Or a commander even. You know what I mean? Like, again, anybody that served previously, hit me up in the chat. Let me know if that's something that you think along the same lines of, right? Like, you've served with people in the military. I'm sure that you were like, this guy's a fucking idiot. Like, God help us if this guy gets in charge of the Pentagon, right? I'm sure there's stories out there all the fucking time that you could hear. So again, no different here. This is exactly what you can expect when you hire and, again, scoop people off the Fox weekend couch as they're trying to recover from their third hangover of the day somehow already. But yep, nothing new here, as we've talked about. Nothing that we shouldn't have already expected and been defending against. But apparently, the our government just didn't think it necessary. Doesn't see Russia as a factor here. which is, again, points to the incompetency of these fucking morons. All right, we'll dive on here. Here's another clip that I wanted to get into because this is talking about, and pretty much refuting the fact that Donald Trump says that everything's, A-okay, 100% under control. We've basically eliminated Iran's ability to do everything at this point. The normal and typical propaganda that they come out with. Well, the strikes and the carpet bombing is still ongoing in the region. The death toll continues to rise. More has come out about the kindergarten strike, which we were right about, let's just say. Give myself a little fucking, and everybody here, everybody was correct about that. Let's just say, all right. So this is a quick little update from ABC News depicting some of the U.S., Israeli, and Iranian strikes, I think, over the last 24 hours, just to kind of keep us up to speed here.
Long-range precision strike missiles being used in
it'd be great if I do start it from the beginning. Always helps.
Overnight, new video of U.S. forces destroying what the Pentagon describes as an advanced Iranian warship. The U.S. says 20 Iranian naval vessels have now been sunk, including this Iranian ship in the Indian Ocean, torpedoed by a U.S. submarine.
Which killed how many?
Attack by the Navy since
Which killed how many?
1945. Nearly 150 people on board are presumed dead. U.S. officials also ramping up the war effort over land, vowing to strike deeper inside Iran, releasing this video of long-range precision strike missiles being used in combat for the first time.
We're in very good shape now. I want to let you know that, and we will continue.
Sorry, jump scare. My apologies. Warning. Decrepit, disintegrating orange on your screen. My apologies. Warning.
But it's a great display of military strength.
The Pentagon now identifying more of the U.S. troops believed to have been killed in Sunday's Iranian drone attack in Kuwait.
Yeah, this is also something that I want to make sure that we highlight and recognize the other two identities from the 6 that have been killed in action so far here. There was 4 that was released. They wanted to obviously give the appropriate time to notify the families and stuff like that. The other 2 identities have been released, and they go on to they talk about the identities here.
They include Major Jeffrey O'Brien of Iowa and Chief Warrant Officer Robert Marsan of California. The 4 other victims were already identified, including Sergeant First Class Nicola Moore.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Jesse. My bad, dude. I didn't see you in there. I didn't see that contribution. Thank you so much. 50 gifted memberships. Holy shit. There you are, my friend. There you are. I see you. What's up, big guy? I appreciate you and everything that you're doing. You sparked a big discussion yesterday, I must say, with your Graham Plattner video. I do want to make sure that I do stand on the side with you, Jess. I got to say in that regard, you and Brittany as well. So I appreciate the video that you put out. I very much appreciate the contributions. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to see the bigger creators on here recognizing and contributing to the smaller platforms, as you always do, as you're known to do. I just wish there was more out there like you to do the same thing. So I appreciate you, everybody in the chat. Make sure we're reaching out to Jesse, not only to subscribe to his channel, but also to thank him for the unbelievably generous contribution there. So thanks, Jess. Appreciate you, brother. Sorry I'm late on that.
Minnesota, a mother of 2 whose husband says he spoke to her 2 hours before she was killed. She was just days from returning home. Iran overnight launching more missiles toward Israel and Saudi Arabia as the State Department announced the first chartered flight carrying American evacuees had departed the Middle East.
To be here.
So the first chartered flight, what is it, a week on? What are we, 6 days in at this point? 6 days, I believe. 6 or 7 at this point. It's all blending together. I do apologize. But again, to have that be the first chartered flight, to have Americans be evacuated a week into the war here, it just goes to show you the lack of planning, the lack of thinking that went into this, the lack of thought that went into the care of people in the region, the lack of defenses that went into to helping people in the region that they knew were going to be retaliated against in the event they launched their attack on Iran. It was well and widely reported. You know what I mean?
Later is definitely disheartening.
Here in Qatar, I met Ryan Blackman from Frisco, Texas. He's hoping to get home to his wife and 3 kids.
I have hopes that every day is going to be the last day, that I'll be here and ultimately get to go back home.
Thousands of Americans across 14 countries are urgently trying to flee the region. Sarah Monty from Nashville says a missile narrowly missed her hotel in Dubai.
I have a video of a missile that was deflected right off of our balcony. It was something that you never think you're going to live through. it's nerve-wracking to say.
And again, just think of how dumb it was for the administration to come out, this regime to come out and be like, yeah, just get to the nearest airport. Meanwhile, all the airports were under attack by Iran, right? We were talking about all of the, the different videos coming out of the chaos and all the different airports. And meanwhile, the Trump regime is just like, yeah, just everybody take a taxi, go to the airports, get out of there at your leisure. Whatever happens, happens. You know what? Fuck it. I know it's a week later, but sorry, we didn't mean to leave you stranded there. Like, this is the shit that we're dealing with at this moment in time, and the lack of competency, the lack of thinking and planning that went into this. And again, the lack of off ramps, and the chaos, the instability that this has already caused. I mean, it's almost too much to kind of go over at this point. It's obviously it's unknown. It's a huge unknown. Just what the instability that's already caused, what that's going to spark, what that's going to turn into in the region. So again, obviously something that we're going to have to continuously keep our eye on and watch. But, as far as this is concerned here, I think this goes on to show a couple more of the strikes as well.
The State Department says it is actively securing more planes for evacuees. As the military takes out more enemy missile launchers, Central Command says the number of missile attacks from Iran has dropped nearly 90%, and drone launches are down more than 70%. The Pentagon is downplaying concerns that the U.S. could run low on expensive missile interceptors.
We have sufficient precision munitions for the task.
Which is, again, something that we've heard from the surrounding regions as well. They were very much worried about the interceptors that they had and being able to defend against, obviously, the Iranian missile and drone attacks there. But, talking about what this White House is really, worried about, what their, the crew and the portion of society that they're really trying to aim this at. We talked about the other day how they made like this Call of Duty like propaganda video showing the strikes that they had, which again was pretty much made to go right at the Rioter group in my estimate. I don't know. It goes along the same lines of DHS using the white nationalist music, the white nationalist statements and propaganda to kind of go after that subset that they're definitely looking for. But here's another one released by the literal White House account. Again, this is the timeline that we live in. This is released by the official White House account titled Just the American Way. And again, this is what they're worried about. This is what they're releasing in the face of uncertainty, in the face of chaos, in the face of instability. Again, initiated and perpetrated solely by the United States in conjunction with Benjamin Netanyahu and the forces of Israel. So check this out. Check this out.
Wake up, Daddy's home.
Welcome home, son.
Wake up, Daddy's home is the first thing said here in this video. Wake up, Daddy's home.
Strength and honor.
Strength and honor.
What will you do without freedom? Mavericks inbound.
You can't conceive of what I'm capable of.
Finishing this fight.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
Again, it's probably copyrighted music, I'm not sure, but to use like the time, whatever time that you have, whatever resources that you have to sit there behind the scenes, and again, to either repost this or create it yourself, just goes to show the childish, immature nature of the fucking people we have now running this country, right? Like we're taking movie clips and matching it up with like, footage of people dying, quite literally people dying in airstrikes and shit. And they're matching it up with Top Gun and fucking Maximus Meridius and Braveheart and, dumb quotes from other movies. Put it to the backdrop of some music, a couple funny dances in there. You know what I mean? Like, we're just having a good time, people. We're just having a good time. Like, kind of like Kyle Higsby and how fucking overjoyed he was at what he was seeing. Again, an action that has already spilled the blood of thousands in the region. But that's put up by the quite literally the official White House account. I know at this point it doesn't surprise anybody, but that is again a representation of the timeline that we are now in. It's just like, how do you explain this to people in 25 years, right? Like, I know that's a long ways away, and I'm hoping just to get there, but it does cross my mind every now and again, like how the hell I could possibly describe this moment in time that we are now living through to somebody that didn't live through it, right? To a 15-year-old, down the road, and that, has no idea, no knowledge of, no awareness of what we went through. they're going to be like, you're absolutely out of your mind. There's no way that happened. Well, luckily, most of it is videotaped that we can go back and look at. So we have a lot of evidence to prove it. So, all right, let's dive into our next clip here, which is from James O'Brien from LBC. We're only going to go into a minute or two of this one. Is this the first or the second one? Let's do this one first. My apologies. We'll do this one first. There's just about a minute or two of this one that I want to do, and then I want to dive into the next one, which is more of Simon Mark's comments on this, but I think it's very important to listen to and hear the opinions of what's taking place right now as far as our regime in this country is concerned, and how it very much aligns with what you guys are thinking. So you're not crazy, okay? Just to be sure. But here's about a minute or two of this video here. This is James O'Brien. Shout out to James on LBC. And this is titled, "This is Even Madder Than Iraq." James O'Brien on Trump and Iran. Here we go. Oh, you know what'd be good? Again, it's always helpful. It is always helpful if you do play the appropriate clip on the screen. I'm sorry I keep doing that.
What is the most apposite or helpful cliche that you could deploy at a moment like this, I wonder? I've got one. Those who do not learn from history are condemned forever to repeat it. I don't know if it's watertight. I don't know if it covers all the bases all of the time. But my goodness me, it's fairly easy to understand at moments like this, isn't it? Because the shadow, the spectre of the Iraq war seems to me to loom large, not just over what is happening in Iran at the moment, Iraq's near neighbour, but also what is happening in Westminster and in political discourse. I've got two things written down on the piece of paper in front of me. That's it. That's the show. That's the... That's what passes for preparation on this program. I've got the word Iraq and the word Trump written down in front of me, just in case I forget the key constituents of the conversation that I'm hoping to have with you. Iraq, because, obviously. And Trump also because, obviously. Those who do not learn from history are condemned forever to repeat it. It seems to me that the basis of supporting or not supporting the United States of America in another Middle Eastern adventure, and that's a question that you can't answer without referring back to Iraq. But it's not the question we should be asking. It's not about supporting the United States of America. The United States of America, led by Donald Trump, is not our historical ally. He would throw us under a bus as soon as have another cheeseburger.
So again, these are the longest serving, some of the longest serving allies that we've had, quite clearly talking openly about how Donald Trump is not an ally, right? The United States, led by Donald Trump, cannot be considered an ally. They would in a heartbeat throw us under the bus. So they're talking about, in this instance, how it's ridiculous not to bring up the war in Iraq when we're comparing the propaganda and the rhetoric surrounding the war in Iran, and also the bullshit of dealing with Donald Trump as now the head of the United States, and the instability it's caused between the allies, between NATO on the world stage.
And of course, it doesn't matter, these sycophantic, self-styled patriots and sort of people who claim to be fans of strongmen. The only thing they're drawn to about Donald Trump is the racism and the misogyny. Let's just be absolutely clear about that. He offers them nothing else except racism and misogyny. Whether you're writing a column for the Daily Mail about how you wish he was in charge here, or whether you're a voter in the United States of America, you've got a little bit more camouflage because you might have believed he'd bring down the cost of eggs or the price of petrol. But for the massive majority of people who seek to portray him as something other than a depraved delinquent, it's the racism and the misogyny with a fat side order of climate change denial.
And again, I think he's got it spot on there, and he goes on to rightly bash and continue to bring up the comparisons between Iraq and the war in Iran that we're hearing now. But I just want to dive onto this next one because I like the analysis that his partner in crime there, Simon Marks, gives. Simon Marks, I believe, is the U.S. representative for the show that covers the U.S. politics, but he gives a pretty succinct, and concise comparison and summary of the situation here, and I want to dive into this.
Simon Marks is in Washington, D.C. Where do you want to start, Simon?
I think we should probably start, James, with some of the very, very mixed messaging that is continuing to come out of the White House on a whole array of different areas relating to this conflict, all of which underscores there is no plan and possibly underscores the fact that at the beginning of this conflict, there may not have been an adequate plan.
So again, the world recognizes the same thing that we're recognizing and have been talking about on the show. There is no plan. There was no, cohesive fucking defense of the area to build up or to evacuate Americans. There was no cohesive plan to mitigate whatever secondary impacts and effects came from the strike that they undertook. So again, this is pretty clear, not only to us in the United States, but to the world writ large that this is going on. So again, Donald Trump's rhetoric, his bullshit isn't fooling anybody. The 17 different lies that they've told already, the war, the operation, the targeting, this and that, the bullshit, it's not fooling anybody. That's what I want to make, very clear here.
Referring to investigations that have been conducted now by the news agency Reuters and by other news organizations that are concluding that the United States absolutely was responsible for the missile strike on that girls' school in Minab.
Again, what did I tell you? What did I tell you, right? Just the first response by the United States on this told me that they knew damn well that they were responsible for this, okay? The fact that they didn't come out with an outright denial, the bullshit propaganda that came out afterwards to try to suggest something else, like it all clearly pointed back to one thing, that they knew damn well that they were responsible, and what excuse they were going to come up with. They were just biding themselves some time. So again, the original story that we came out with seemingly been confirmed by other outlets at this point in time on the strike on the kindergarten
in Iran that killed at least 170 people. For the last 2 or 3 days, the White House has been refusing to comment on exactly what happened there, saying it was all subject to a Pentagon investigation. And until the Pentagon told us what had happened, they couldn't possibly say that the United States may have been involved in it. Not only now is there a growing body of evidence to suggest that indeed it was an American missile that slammed into that girls' school, but there are also now questions about whether AI may in any way have been used in targeting that particular.
Remember the whole Anthropic thing? Huh? You remember that whole thing that was going down at the Pentagon? Anthropic?
Missile. We know that AI is being extensively used by the American military and is allowing them reportedly to come up with targets with a greater degree of rapidity than they would be able to if they were simply using human beings to engage.
Which again begs the question, was the school targeted on purpose? Because if they're supposed to be able to be using this, advanced AI for targeting, to be ultra accurate, for use of their weapons to use as guidance, then how the fuck did we commit this war crime? Again, which is absolutely a war crime. It is a war crime, regardless, which is why they're so hesitant to come out with a statement. They're never going to probably release the information on the investigation. It'll probably take years in committee hearings and lawsuits to probably get that to come out. But again, this is a clear instance here that we are engaged in a clear evidence of a war crime in this undertaking, in this war.
Battlefield planning, but I think there are real questions now about whether the United States was responsible for that. They, of course, insist that this was not, even if they were involved, it wasn't deliberate. They insist here that they don't deliberately target civilians, but there are questions now about the AI involvement in all of this, as well, of course, about where all of this is heading. President Trump actually said last night on the telephone to reporter John Carl from ABC News, and he's been doing another raft of these telephone interviews all day long with individual reporters, and then everybody scrambles to find out what he said to each person that he's spoken to, and then you invariably discover that he said one thing to one person and something different to another.
Yeah,
but
I believe
to
there
John
was
Carl of ABC
I believe there was also some reporting that he spoke to CNN's Dana Bash, and she had a bunch of things to say about some of the comments that he made as well.
Night when he was asked what the plan is for what happens next in Iran after this first, major combat operation wraps up. The quote from President Trump to John Carl is, "Forget about next. I mean, as though you don't have to worry about next. This, the president indicated, is simply all about degrading Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile capability so that he doesn't have to go back in there
Speaking
again.
of next, there was something else that he referenced was going to be next too, but he wanted to make sure that the one in Iran was done first, as something that we should be continuing to take a look at, something that I've failed myself, will recognize that I failed myself in doing the due diligence, giving it the proper attention. But the plight of what's going on in Cuba right now, as well as millions are without power as the massive outages continue. Not only that, but the food shortages, the fuel shortages as well. So that's also something that Donald Trump referenced in an interview recently, talking about Marco Rubio and maybe that Cuba was going to be next. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We want to make sure that this first war in Iran is taken care of before we go start to, causing wars in other regions. So this was another aspect. This was put out by France 24, talking about the power plant shutdown and how millions were left without power in Cuba as well. So that's something, if we have some time, we'll dive into. Let me put this back on, though.
Doesn't have to go back in there again in 5 or 10 years' time. Suddenly last night, as he was welcoming Lionel Messi and the Inter Miami football team to the White House, and they were all behind him, this bizarre pastiche of, soccer players.
Why are fucking teams still showing up? Why? And why is anybody still showing up to the fucking White House at this point? I mean, again, anybody that shows up should never have another fucking ticket sold. Any team that shows up should never have another fucking fan in the stadium, right? None of the players that show up and shake hands and smile and smirk and say nothing about what's going on should never have another fucking autograph signed. My opinion.
From Miami, including Lionel Messi, behind him in the White House. He updated the American public about the war before he dealt with their presence at the White House, and made an extraordinary plea to Iran's diplomats around the world. Let's listen to President Trump at the White House last night.
We also urge Iranian diplomats around the world to request asylum and to help us shape a new and better Iran with great potential. It's a country with great potential, is much better future.
Yeah, just the ridiculousness of the optics of talking about such a serious matter while you got FC Miami or whatever the fuck they are. What are they? I don't know what the fuck they are. The Miami soccer team standing behind them. Like, again, so many different aspects of this have to be called out, pointed out, are going to be picked apart, again, going on in the future. It's just the ridiculousness of the timeline is just never ceases to amaze me. Again, talking about war, talking about how he wants diplomats to come over and request asylum while he's got like a fucking soccer team stood behind him waiting to get some, recognition.
For Iran, it's now beginning. It's going to be, I think, a great future. And
it's going to be a great future. He wants Iranian diplomats to seek asylum, presumably in whichever country they find themselves, and help him to build a new Iran. And there were other moments yesterday where, in telephone interviews with reporters, he again hinted that he's willing in some fashion to work with the regime, albeit not with the son of the late supreme leader, who's being tipped to become the next supreme leader. The president dismissed him as a lightweight, although couldn't name Mojtaba.
So what is the plan then? What is the plan then, right? If he's calling this guy a lightweight, meanwhile couldn't fucking name who it was. If he doesn't agree with that, if he's determined to be, have some input on who the next fucking leader is going to be, and that's definitely not going to happen, we're just going to bomb continuously. Like, what is the end goal, right? What is the line in the sand that says once we reach this point, we're okay? That's the limit, or that's the goal, that's the objective, or that's the limit, that's the time limit that we've reached. You know what I mean? Like, are they just going to continue to bomb? Are we going to bomb the sun now? Are we going to take him out? And then what's going to happen after? They're going to install somebody else. They're going to go further down the line. And we can continue this on for how long, right? So you can see how this can be like an endless thing, where people referring to this as sort of an endless war. And again, people not referencing and acknowledging the difference between, Venezuela and their, respect or lack thereof for Maduro, and the religious zealotness of the leadership in Iran, and not, again, recognizing that difference is a huge fucking miscalculation as well. to think that this was going to be like a cakewalk, like it was in Caracas, like people were just going to fucking, all of a sudden it was going to be great, even though we have the same regime in place down there. Don't get me started on fucking that one. The same thing's going to happen here. But if Trump doesn't continue to agree with the leaders, what are we going to do? We're just going to continue to bomb and carpet bomb and carpet bomb and carpet bomb until what? We get to a point where Trump's already said that everybody he's got on his list has been killed. He doesn't like the Ayatollah's son that's been put in place. So what's going on? What are we looking for here?
That he appeared to have. But he also, once again, cited the Venezuelan example and paid tribute to a woman that he referred to as President-elect Delcy Rodriguez, except
which she's not.
Of course,
there's been no
she
election.
isn't President-elect.
No.
So in no way can she be described in those terms. But he once again almost seemed to be musing about the possibility of finding someone from within the regime that he might then seek to prop up, as he did with Maduro's number.
Which again would leave us with the regime, the Khomeini regime, still intact, still in place, right? So where are we then? What has changed in that regard? So we went from the old guy that was in power for 47 years to much younger, much more capable, much more fanatic, right? People that are, who knows what ideas and beliefs and what things they're going to enact and what they want to see done. And what they will, reenact, enact against their own population as far as retribution is concerned. Like, we don't know, like, we're no better off. We could be worse off, but we don't even know at this point. There's no clear indication that there's a specific goal, a specific intent, a specific person, a specific line in the sand, a specific date, a specific number of troops killed, a specific number of civilians killed that would ultimately, get us the fuck out of here. It's just not in place right now, and everybody's recognizing that.
And the rest of the Venezuelan government back in January.
I don't think we need to worry too much, though, because he's doing God's work.
Greg says, just proving that they don't know anything about the complex layers of Iranian politics. Correct. I mean, absolutely. It's not different. I mean, it's not the same with every country. And thank you, Jeff, so much. I see you in there, brother. Thank you so much. Still a 50-50 toss-up. Who is going to win the U.S.-Israel? Who is going to win U.S.-Israel or Iran? Embarrassing. And again, we have seen, it has been widely reported that the ability and at least the number of missile launches has dramatically gone down. But that does not mean that Iran cannot still impact and inflict damage. That does not mean that they still don't have the ability to control to a certain aspect, the shipping lanes and the traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. That doesn't mean that they can't continuously strike these specific targets, whether it be oil plants, oil refineries, shipping, ports that are used to ship oil, whatever it may be, U.S. bases. I mean, it may not be as many as much, but that doesn't mean that people aren't going to continue to die. I mean, we're continuing to carpet bomb Tehran. Right. So innocent people, civilians all over the place in that region are still getting killed by us, but they're still able to affect definite damage against our facilities, against Tel Aviv, against the shipping lanes. So again, this is by no means over by any aspect. But again, we do have to report the obvious decline in the missile launches and the drone launches that we've seen. So, all right, let's move on just a little bit because, there's only so much direct laughter I can take from people laughing about the leadership of this country, even though they're 100% right. But this is, again, our Russian friend. I'm sure some of you may be familiar with him. Roman is his name. NFKRZ. Is his moniker, is his kind of YouTube channel title here. He's got a substantial, he's got 1.25 million subscribers. He's done a very good job. Again, he's a Russian dissident, left Russia. I believe he was in Portugal. Again, I'm not 100% sure where he's stationed now, where he's living now. But he does a good job at calling out the Russian regime, calling out the atrocities committed by Russia, the different aspects of Russian society as far as like what protesting will get you. You know what I mean? Like, the different laws put in place by the Russian regime, enacted during this war, a lot of different aspects he gets into. I think he's more of a gamer type, but he does have some pretty good insight as to the rhetoric used by the Trump administration as far as not wanting to call this a war and how that plays right into the hands and comes right from the playbook of Vladimir Putin. again, calling it the special military operation. We don't have to watch the entire thing, as I always say. I know it's probably a broken record at this point, but just a couple minutes if we could dive into this. And this will confirm and corroborate what we've been speaking about here as far as where they're getting their talking points, how they're trying to skirt around the word of war to, you know, to avoid the criminalities, to avoid the prosecutions that are undoubtedly or should undoubtedly come following this fucking war. But let's get into just a couple minutes of this. I do appreciate it. And then we have, what else do we have? We got Benny Johnson still to call out, so stick around for that. That's going to be a good one. His cope is always fun. And then we always have, again, we go over some of the recent footage coming in from some of the different strikes in the area. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. It's a grind to try to do it on your own with no help from, again, sponsors, ads, anything like that. So it's all 100% on the generosity and you know, the favorability that you give this show. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you so much to the mods, as always. I can't thank you enough for everything that you do and keeping this channel running and keeping that chat a safe place. And again, you guys know you are the best chat on the internet, best chat on social media, right here at the Church of Bryantology. I still love that. All right, let's get into it. I appreciate you guys. Play any day. There we go.
Yes, people, this is official. This is not a drill. We finally got Special Military Operation 2 before GTA 6. I'm sure that all of you have already heard the news. America has recently struck Iran in Operation Epic Fury, which I like to call Operation Epic Bacon. And it seems to be a very unpopular decision with a lot of Americans, especially because Donald Trump promised to not start any wars.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective.
And as a result, right now, the Trump administration is pretty much scared to use the word war to describe what's going on with Iran, just like Russia prefers to not use the word war to describe the so-called special military operation in Ukraine. For example, Donald Trump himself did not call this a war.
The United States military began major combat operations in Iran.
It's not a war, it's a major combat operation.
And again, you can see how they've gone back and forth with this, as we've talked about. This wasn't like a consistent and coherent plan right from the beginning for them not to call it a war. Again, we've heard Pete Hegseth, we've heard Donald Trump slip out and call it a war, literally sitting next to Mike Johnson, who tried desperately to get people to think that this was, you know, a very specific and targeted operation, not a war in general, as we've heard from like Mark Wayne Mullen, who we're going to have to continue to hear about and talk about, considering his new fucking position, again, if he gets confirmed. And again, that's another thing. I'm not going to go off on a tangent here, but the fact that we have fucking Democrats that confirmed all of these fucking sickos and psychopaths to these positions that are now responsible for doing all of these corrupt and fraudulent fucking things that we're seeing, that's really going to stick in my craw. And we do have reports that Democrats are still talking about funding the Iran war. And it's the typical Democrats that you'd hear, the fucking Kanes, the Alyssa Slotkins, these fucking idiots themselves. But again, I'm not going to go off on a tangent. But again, that really sticks in my craw that we have people that voted for this shit.
An MCO. I suggest the American government to rename this to a Combat Battle Operation, CBO. Then, it's actually the same abbreviation as the Russian Special Military Operation, SVO. Come on, America, make it a little easier for us. But on a serious note, myself as a Russian who left Russia after the start of the Ukraine war, I've been noticing some really interesting parallels between the language and the words that the Trump administration is using towards the Iran war compared to the phrases and words that the Russian government uses to justify the Ukraine war. And look, I know this is a sensitive topic. When I posted my reel about the situation, I immediately started getting comments from people saying, do you support the Islamic Republic? No, I just think that two things can be true at the same time. We can realize that the Iranian regime is horrible, but also we can criticize the way the Trump administration is handling things. So hey,
again, same exact thing that we've been saying here, right? One thing doesn't make the other thing true. Two things can be true at the same time. You can also call out the atrocities, you know, the fucking the hellhole of a man that the Ayatollah was, while also recognizing the illegalities, the unconstitutional nature of the war, and the ramifications and repercussions that can and will follow it.
People, it is your boy Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian, and in today's video we're going to look at some of the sad and hilarious parallels between the Russian and the American government right now. By the way, sponsors really hate political content, so if you like what I do on this channel, I'd really appreciate if you either became a channel member or supported me on Buy Me a Coffee. It helps us make more and better videos for you. So here's the thing, they actually are trying to avoid using the word war as much as possible. For example, the Defense Secretary of the US, Pete Hegseth, said that Operation Epic Fury is not an endless war, but is actually a clear, devastating, decisive mission. A special operation of sorts, one could even say.
To the media outlets and political left screaming endless wars, stop. This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president.
Pay attention.
He called the last 20 years of nation-building wars dumb, and he's right. This is the opposite.
This right here in particular actually reminded me so much of what the Russian government was saying before the Ukraine war. Notice how Hegseth said that this is not a war and that we as a country and as a generation know better than to start a war. And our president also knows that wars are unacceptable, and this is actually the opposite of a war. Here's a little snippet of an interview with the press secretary of the Russian president, Dmitry.
Again, listen how it matches up. Listen to how it matches up. I know a lot of you guys, it's you know, not necessarily the stuff that you typically watch, but the comparisons are definitely there, right? So check out the likeness.
Which was aired a few days before the start of the Ukraine war.
Призываем к разуму, призываем задать себе вопрос, какой смысл России на кого-то нападать. Призываем вспомнить историю, но, скажем так, с историей все-таки у них на Западе, как мы убедились недавно, не очень хорошо, но напоминаем, что Россия на протяжении всей своей истории никогда ни на кого не нападала.
So it's the whole, well, we didn't start this war. We typically don't start wars, but we do end the wars, right? Like it's never incumbent. It's never us that's really instigating these things. It's basically the West. When in reality, it's the same thing that Pete Hegseth is saying. When you know all of these endless wars that have gone, they're all ridiculous. But this one is just. This one is the one that we should be engaged in. Okay, this is the one that we do have justification to get into. That's basically it's the same exact fucking playbook.
Которая пережила столько войн, это последняя страна в Европе, которая вообще хочет говорить даже, произносить слово война.
You get it, right? It's like
The United States is the last person that wanted this. We didn't want this. Our hand was forced, right? The same fucking rhetoric that you're hearing right now from people like Marco Rubio, the people like Pete Hegseth, right? Our hand was forced. There was nothing we could do. The threat was imminent. You know, we didn't want this, but we will end it.
It's basically the exact same thing. Hegseth says that he was himself in Iraq and he knows that war is terrible and that America would never make the mistake of starting a war once again. And the Russian official says the exact same thing. Russia is too smart to start wars. Russia is the last country that would ever want a war. Our people in our country knows better than to start a war. It's the exact same thing, and they're saying these things as they're starting a new war. There's another very Russian thing that Hegseth said as well. He said that the US did not start this conflict, but they will finish it. Wait, didn't Vladimir Putin say something like that about the Ukraine war as well?
Украинский кризис начался с 2014 года, когда был организован государственный переворот, а потом развязана война, боевые действия на юго-востоке Украины. Вот с этого все началось. Наша специальная военная операция – это не начало войны, а это попытка ее прекратить.
Exactly.
So again, this strongman, authoritarian, dictatorial fucking rhetoric, right? Blaming the war on everybody else, coming up with these ridiculous reasons for our fucking entry into the war, while also saying that, well, we didn't start it, but we will end it. Like we are going to be there to be the, you know, the guy that's going to kill the most people, right? The same fucking thing, same playbook, almost the same exact delivery. It's funny. It's almost like they've talked with one another. It's almost like these people are closely affiliated, both in you know, the way that they control their fucking countries and also the policies that they want to see enacted. It's crazy.
Like, I mean, it's getting absolutely ridiculous at this point, especially as a Russian looking at this. I've joked already on this channel before that Donald Trump's America and Trump right now is pretty much trying to speedrun Vladimir Putin's entire career in one presidential term. He's designating entire groups of people as extremists and terrorists inside the country, just like Vladimir Putin. He's building like a gold palace for himself or whatever, just like Vladimir Putin. But at this point, it's like even the rhetoric is the exact same. This is unbelievable. Now, I believe the reason why Trump himself is also avoiding using the word war is because he knows it does not look good. And he's kind of promised people the opposite, just like Vladimir Putin. Here's a classic video of Donald Trump going at Obama saying that he's about to start a war with Iran.
Our president will start
a
war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. So the only way he figures that he's going to get reelected, and as sure as you're sitting there, is to start a war with Iran. Now,
I mean, he's not wrong if he was talking about himself in the future tense, but
again, the irony of having a fucking videotape out there that exists of you saying that and then you yourself getting into that position and doing the exact same fucking thing that you tried to warn us about previously is, it's again, very spot on for Trump, I must say.
Yes, Trump has said many times that he's going to be the president to stop and end all wars. He said that he's going to stop the Ukraine war in 24 hours or whatever. And also there's going to be no more wars, and now he's starting a war. And the thing is, Vladimir Putin also always said that he's actually not interested in starting a war with Ukraine.
Крым не является никакой спорной территорией. Там не было никакого этнического конфликта, в отличие от конфликта между Южной Осетией и Грузией. И Россия давно признала границы сегодняшней Украины.
Yes, Vladimir Putin also talks about how there's never going to be any war with Ukraine, and that Crimea is of no interest to Russia and is part of Ukraine. And also, Vladimir Putin's entire brand a lot of the time was that he's the guy who stopped all wars in Russia and who's not going to let any new wars start. So
thank you, Aaron. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. And thank you to H. DePonzio. Thank you to H. DePonzio for the 10 gifted memberships there in the chat. Thank you so much. Oh, is that you? Is that who I think it is? I don't want to be giving out too much information, but I recognize that beauty singing into that microphone. I recognize that beauty. Good to see you, H. Good to see you, H. And again, I'll leave it at that. I don't want to divulge too much, but very nice of you to join us. I do appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much. And thank you to Aaron again. Thank you to everybody else that's been gifting as well.
Trump and Putin ran on the idea that there's going to be no wars, and they lied to their people. And that's the reason why both of them do not want to use the word war. I guess at least in America, you do not get put in prison for calling the Iran war a war.
Yet.
Now, one thing I also found quite funny as a Russian is that Trump started his special military operation against Iran without the approval of Congress. So he basically did it undemocratically, which is funny because even though Russia is not a democracy, at least he tries to pretend to be one. And Vladimir Putin actually did bother to throw like a pretend meeting with the Security Council of Russia, in which he basically asked members of the Russian government to, you know, give their okay to the start of the war. So even though it's all an act, Vladimir Putin did actually technically come to the government and undertake the procedure in a legal way. As legal as invasion of a foreign country gets, I guess. Russia is not a democracy, but it's actually trying to pretend still. While Trump's America, I guess, does not even want to pretend like it's democratic anymore. The bar is an actual hell. J.D. Vance also spoke out how this is not really a war, you guys.
If you think back to Afghanistan, 20 years of mission creep, 20 years of not having a clear objective, and 20 years of the United States trying to bring liberal democracy to Afghanistan. Iraq was a little bit shorter, but we were still in that country for nearly a decade with no clear mission, no clear definition. What's so different
again,
about
pair this with the previous statements and tweets put out by J.D. Vance of no new wars and how ridiculous it would be to get involved in a foreign war and, you know, things along the lines of that. Again, it just goes to show the blatant and utter hypocrisy, the incompetency, the ignorance of these people. How they have absolutely no coherent plan, no way to go about getting out of this. And it couldn't be more clear with every person in this administration that talks.
Jesse, is that the president has clearly defined what he wants to accomplish. And there's just no way. I said this before the conflict started. I'll repeat it again. There's just no way.
The conflict, guys, remember, not a war. It's a conflict.
Donald Trump is going to allow this country to get into a multi-year conflict with no clear end in sight and no clear objective.
So yes, basically he's saying that, you know, we'll take Tehran in 3 days, and he's just SVO, guys, special military operation, nothing to see here. I also noticed that what's happening currently with Iran has kind of created a rift in American politics. There's actually a lot of people that were Team Trump that actually kind of feel betrayed now in a way, because he did promise to have no more wars. But there's also quite a lot of grifters as well on the right that usually say that America should not be involved in any wars and any foreign conflicts. And Donald Trump is great because he cares about America. He's going to do exactly that. He doesn't care about Israel or whatever. And now we'll have these same exact people that were praising Trump for, you know, being the no-war president are now praising him after he did actually start a war. So a lot of people find that surprising, but myself actually don't. Because once again, it's something that happens in Russia. If you know a thing or two about Russian propaganda, you've probably heard about Vladimir Solovyov, who's one of the most notorious Russian propaganda pundits. He's been in the game
We're well familiar with Vladimir.
So long. One of the biggest supporters of Putin, the Russian governments, of the war against Ukraine, and so on.
Ironically, also has a video out there of him condemning and saying how stupid it would be to go to war with Ukraine previously to the full-scale invasion.
says that Ukraine basically needs to be wiped off the map, right? But what if I told you guys that some years ago, this exact same guy was actually against the war with Ukraine?
Я вам так скажу, никакой войны России с Украиной никогда не будет, потому что любой человек, который на полном серьезе попытается осуществить такого рода акт, является...
Anybody who were to carry out such acts would be a criminal, and I cannot even imagine the magnitude of that crime. Then, again, talking about the possibility of an attack or an invasion on the neighboring country of Ukraine. And again, this well before the full-scale invasion.
Преступникам, притом я не могу себе представить, какого размера. В Украине живут...
Ukraine is home to people who are brothers in spirit, blood, and shared history, says the guy who now thinks that not only Europe and Ukraine should be wiped off the map.
Нам абсолютно по духу, по крови, по общей истории люди, война с которыми является самым страшным преступлением, которое...
Them would be the most terrible crime imaginable.
Может только придумать.
So that was a clip of him from 2008. There's also another clip from 2013 of the same guy, which was 1 year before the Crimea annexation, by the way. He was asked a question whether he wants Crimea to become part of Russia during like a public performance, and this is what he said.
Не дай бог, а зачем вам Крым? Когда мы говорим, а вот давайте Хрущев отдал, мы присоединим, но Хрущев уже отдал абсолютно легитимно. Были законодательные акты. Он это сделал на основании определенных документов. Сколько украинских и русских жизней вы готовы положить на то, чтобы...
How many lives, how many Ukrainian and Russian lives are you willing to sacrifice in order to seize Crimea? Basically responding to the audience question by saying that it was handed over in a way that was, it was legal, right? Like, what do you want what the Russians would never go in there. It would be an illegal act for us to try to take it back over, right? This is his, again, 2013, a year before they would send their little green men in.
Крым, который давно уже стал татарской территорией, крымских татар.
He was also against taking territories from Ukraine and Crimea becoming part of Russia, and then a year later when Crimea was taken, he was one of the biggest supporters of Crimea joining Russia, and he was saying that he's actually been waiting for it for his entire life. So yes, the grifters basically operate in the same exact way in America and in
Russia.
Russia.
Again, just to show you the connection, not only in rhetoric, but also the irony in the way that they're willing to be complete and total hypocrites to defend, to continue to stay on the right side of the regime, to make sure that they're not, ostracized or extradited, to a foreign fucking land, to a gulag in the Arctic somewhere. You know what I mean? So again, these are clear and concise parallels that we need to keep referencing, not only between Trump and Vladimir Putin, not only between Trump's regime and Vladimir Putin's regime and the shit that they try to do, but also the parallels that we continue to point to between World War II, going back to the Nazis playbook, going back to Mussolini and the rise of fascism in general, all the way up to talking about Iraq, Afghanistan, and how it pertains to now. So all of these things I think are important, and I appreciate you guys for being here with me as we do it. What do you say we call out a little bit of Benny Johnson's bullshit? I got a kick out of this. I'm not sure really where we're going to pick it up. I didn't watch any of this, but I did really get a kick out of the title. The title here on Benny Johnson's live stream was, I was just briefed on Trump's endgame. Like he was allowed into like the Pentagon briefing room, and they briefed fucking Benny Johnson in particular on what the endgame is here. And he says, America is about to change forever. Again, not sure what he's really referencing at that point, but I do know that the Middle East will probably be changed for quite some time, again, with the instability that's been caused. And I know America is about to change forever as far as how much money's in your pocketbook if you plan on going to the gas station anytime soon. So again, let me just jump in here. This could be anything that he's talking about. I'm not really sure. I just kind of stopped it to make sure that the live didn't go away. So again, this was Benny Johnson being just briefed on Donald Trump's endgame. Nobody knows about it, but Benny Johnson, the Kremlin fucking mouthpiece, right? The propaganda piece of Vladimir Putin, who again was lapping up the Russian rubles as fast as they were coming from Tenet Media, and again the unknown billionaire that they were getting it from. That is Benny Johnson. All right, let's dive into this. I love calling out his cope here.
Because there were no consequences.
And I have absolutely no idea who this woman is. Not going to lie. Does it say here who's this freak show? If you're on with Benny Johnson, you're a freak show. I do apologize. Sorry, not sorry. Doesn't really say much here as far as who this woman is, so maybe she'll tell us. I don't know. Well, we don't care.
For what they did to the president, what they did to Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, what they did to almost 13.
I'm sorry, the Steve Bannon that's heavily referenced in the Epstein files. Are you defending? I'm sorry, is that the guy that you're now defending? one of the first words I hear you say is like, oh my God, the weaponization of the fucking Department of Justice against Steve Bannon, who, yeah, the guy that's now been named a shit ton of times in the Epstein files, tried to help the guy rehabilitate his image on the world stage as far as going from, I don't know, a pedophile back to a respectable guy, because that's a fucking thing, I guess. But apparently she's really upset about the weaponization and really wants to see something happen while Donald Trump's in office. That's what I'm getting from this.
J6ers in that courthouse.
Oh, the J6s, like this J6er. I'm sorry, you mean like this J6er? Would you referencing this guy that you're talking about that was just sentenced to life in prison because he was found guilty of sexually abusing children, including an 11-year-old? Would this be the January 6th guy that Trump pardoned and let go and released from prison that went on to commit these acts? Is this the guy, or at least one of them? I think we have, there's more from this where he goes on to, I think he says sorry to his dad or something in court here. This is where he actually gets sentenced. This fucking disgusting. Yeah, there he is right there. There's the look of a guy that's going away for life. That's going to have a fucking rough future in prison, my friend. That's about the best he's going to look for quite some time. I can assure you that. But I'm just curious if that's the people that they're talking about, Benny. Is that the people that you're referencing?
Now, this is the revenge, the reverse revenge that they are getting against the Trump DOJ and Jeanine Pirro's office.
What they would have done to me and you if given the opportunity, and if we give them the opportunity again. This is why I know it's fashionable to turn on Trump right now. Get your clicks or whatever. I'm not going to.
This is why he's sticking with Donald Trump, baby. He's hoping for that pardon. He is still worried about that tenant money. He is still worried about repercussions from the tenant money, investigations into that tenant money. You can be damn sure. Listen to how scared he is about what there's still, the possibility of happening to him when Democrats take back power. Listen to this.
What they would have done to me and you if given the opportunity, and if we give them the opportunity again. This is why I know it's fashionable to turn on Trump right now. Get your clicks or whatever. I'm not going to do it. I've seen what these people are capable of.
Yep. And that's exactly following the letter of the law, doing investigations and finding out how many Russian rubles you in fact accepted with the knowledge that you accepted it. I know you were named as a victim, and you guys love to point out that the Department of Justice labeled you guys as victims, but that just makes you stupid, incompetent, and a fucking moron. Okay. That's not the flex that you think it is. Right? Remember when they were all like, Tim Pool did this a bunch of times when Biden's DOJ listed them as victims in this circumstance? Well, again, then you got fucking played like a monkey. Okay. You got absolutely played by the dumbest circumstances that we could possibly think of, by a Russian that you never saw. A billionaire that you never saw, a billionaire that you never fucking talked to in person. Right? All of the shady dealings that were going on with the money and all of the talkings of trying to figure out who it was or the lack thereof. Right? He knows that he's still in fucking serious hot water if people start digging into the Russian rubles that are still sitting right in Benny Johnson's bank account that he didn't give back, that he didn't donate to charity. Nope, neither him or Tim Pool donated any of that fucking millions of dollars that they got from Russia.
Oh, by the way, they also funded the war in Ukraine, which I think is far more pernicious and far more deadly and far more murderous and evil than what I've seen Trump do. And I'm
sorry, who perpetrated that one? Who was responsible for the start of that one? So you're more mad at the funding in the giving of aid to a country that was attacked more than you're willing to call out, strangely, the same people that were responsible for giving you the Russian rubles? Strange. That's strange. I didn't see that coming from Benny Johnson at all. Right? Just not something that I would expect from Yvonne Benny Johnson. Fucking this guy.
Using that as a sliding scale. But it's not like you're not going to get unpopular or controversial wars with the left, but you're also going to get transing of children.
Right, what part of the left was responsible for the full-scale invasion by Russia into Ukraine? Which people on the left were directly responsible for that again? Which Democrats helped that happen? I'm curious.
And you and me in prison. So yeah, this makes it pretty easy, because you and I posted the wrong meme.
So again, this is Benny Johnson quite clearly saying that there's nothing. There's no line in the sand. There is no rock bottom. There's no bottom of the barrel that Trump could hit where Benny Johnson's going to fucking flee the ship like a rat that he is. You know what I mean? He is just forever going to have to stick by this guy's side, hoping that he's going to get a pardon, hoping that he can keep him in power forever. so that the Democrats don't inevitably get their shot at seeing an investigation happen into Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, Jack Posobiec, the rest of these fucking morons. And you can see the fear in his eyes here. This was supposed to be about the fact that he got some insider information, and maybe they go on to talk about that. I'm not sure. But right now, he seems really worried about where he's going to be sitting, whether it's going to be in a house or a prison cell when the Democrats inevitably take back power, considering the unpopularity of Donald Trump's positions, both domestically and abroad.
We posted the wrong meme, they'll throw us in prison. We've seen them do it. It's not a joke.
Try walking in the DC courthouse several times with security there and prosecutors side-eyeing you and
I'm
others.
sorry, were you worried about being taken out at the DC courthouse? Just what, were you going to be assaulted at the DC courthouse, or what is the difficulty that you're having of walking in and around the DC courthouse? I'm curious. Is that like the front lines for a white woman nowadays? Is that like what we're doing here on the right? A Republican white, conservative white, fucking Blanco. the war zone that she faces is now the DC courthouse.
I'm like, oh God, please just let me get out of this city.
All right, so this wasn't the beginning. What's he say here?
Courtroom. We've been in that courthouse, Julie. We got lectures on our privilege. We got in that courthouse. People did death threats to us.
People did death threats to us. They did death threats. How does one do a death threat? You could write one. You could probably communicate one. You could say one, right? Like verbally. But how do you do one? Like, is that like the act? Like, would that be, did you survive the act itself, Benny? Oh boy. But again, I just want to go to the beginning. I'm curious what his initial, what was the initial report here in this live stream, considering the news he supposedly got here? Well, first he's talking about Markwayne Mullin, so that's not the update. Let's see what he's talking about.
Hours. And empires rise and fall on the switch of a blade, on the turn of the sword. And here we are. Welcome to the fourth turning.
Welcome to the sword.
Trump says that Cuba will be ours.
Jesus fucking Christ. I'm sorry. Could you say that more nonchalantly? Could you say that like it doesn't have a huge impact on the world? Did anybody catch that quick reference to Cuba being ours? Like, what? You see how insane these fuckers are? Like, just quietly, calmly, just referencing the fact that Cuba will be ours. That's what the president's saying. Nothing to see here, folks. Let's breeze past that one. One more time. Give me that one more time.
And empires rise and fall.
Okay.
On the switch of a blade.
Okay.
On the turn of the sword.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Okay.
Welcome to the fourth turning.
Welcome.
Trump says that Cuba will be ours.
Just slip that in there? You're just going to slip that? Does he reference anything else in that? Please tell me he goes on to some complete and total different matter and references that not once again. Please tell me.
And that will happen like maybe this weekend.
Oh, yeah, this weekend. We're just going to go and buy, conquer, kill all of the Cubans? How does that going to work? How many U.S. military servicemen and women are we going to put into action at once right now for a guy that said no new wars, for a guy that claimed to be the president of peace? Like, it's just I'm sorry. I'm trying to wrap my head around the fact that you just said that Cuba was going to be ours by this weekend. Like, I'm still trying to digest that for a moment.
It's remarkable. What exactly is going on here? Russia has entered the war in Iran. We knew that was going to happen, but they were already.
Well, you knew it was going to happen, of course. You got the inside scoop there, Chief. It's probably written on back of one of the rubles that you got sitting in your fucking checking account right now. Hey, just so you know, we will be attacking and helping Iran if you guys do, in fact, attack Iran.
In Iran. And I've been briefed by, let's just call it.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. He's been briefed, ladies and gentlemen. Who has he been briefed by? He even had to put his earpiece in. What is the briefing he got?
But they were already in the war in Iran. And I've been briefed by, let's just call it, top-level Pentagon officials.
Oh, okay.
What the end game is.
What is it? He's got the end game. Benny's got the end game, guys.
What's actually happening?
What is it?
What is the Iranian war about?
What is
exactly?
Tell us.
And what happens next?
Tell us.
It's remarkable.
Tell us.
It's a play that is so bold, so ballsy, so strategic, And so, Empress, in its grandeur, so magisterial, you would say. It's a huge gambit. Is it going to play out? Is it going to pay off?
What is it?
Well,
tell us.
These are the worlds of kings, lords, and men.
I'm sorry. I thought Donald Trump wasn't a king. Isn't the guy that said he wasn't going to be a king? Like we're the people here that say no kings. Like that's quite literally the name of some of the protests that are happening out there. No kings, right? So he's quite literally going on to say that this is the world of kings now, and that this is such a fucking unbelievably strategic military action that you guys could not even comprehend, right? He's gotten the briefing. He's got all the answers, but you guys wouldn't understand, right? You're not of the military mind. You just don't understand. You're not on the same IQ level as Donald John Trump for you to be able to comprehend just the layers of fucking intelligence that went into this. But again, maybe he does tell us. Maybe he does.
And I guess we're going to find out soon enough.
You know. What are you talking about? You just said you got a briefing. What do you mean we're going to soon know? You know. Tell us now, and we'll know soon or then later. Tell us now. What is it? Tell us.
These are the games that we play.
Stop playing fucking games and tell us about the briefing.
It's a wild world that we find ourselves in.
Well, that's because you guys voted for this asshole 3 times, not me. I mean, don't blame me for the fucking chaos and instability seen throughout the planet right now that you're having to justify on top of Donald Trump's involvement in the Epstein files. I didn't vote for it.
Trump reconquering the world. That's what this is all about.
Trump reconquering the world. That's what this is all about. Now, did that come from the Pentagon briefing? I mean, I'm sorry. That's nuts. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? Reconquering the world, said with a straight face by Benny Johnson.
Soon enough. These are the games that we play. It's a wild world that we find ourselves in. Is Trump reconquering the world? That's what this is all about.
Jesus Christ. So Putin wants to see the reemergence of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic at the same time that Donald Trump's trying to put together the Roman Empire again. What are we doing here? Is one autocrat, is one dictator trying to follow the footsteps of another and conquer as much land in the same way, same form, and same fashion? Because it seems like we're just doing the exact same thing that Vladimir Putin is doing. To a T, as a matter of fact. And just bullying anybody and everybody, killing anybody and everybody we see fit, and conquering as much territory, I guess, as the international society, as the world writ large will allow. I mean, how is it different? How is it different at this point? But again, conquering the world, said by a propagandist here with a straight face, should fucking worry you as to, again, the extent of military action currently planned. And I don't know what fucking, briefing he got, what Pentagon strategist and personnel he spoke to. But it seems like the conquering of the world is what he took from that. Just saying, conquering the world. No. Okay.
It's not about Iran at all. It's nothing to do with Iran.
Nothing to. So why are we killing thousands again? Why are we now carpet bombing Tehran? What? So if it has nothing to do, I'm just all right. What do we? I'm trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together here, guys. I'm trying my hardest to put the fucking pieces of the puzzle together here, and it's just I'm struggling. I'm struggling here. After covering the full scale invasion and the brutal war, in Ukraine for so long, and then having to fucking trying to diagnose this at the same time, it's like, I'm going to start looking like Cash Patel soon. I'm going to wake up and just not know what direction to look in. I'm going to be like, I don't know. I'm just, don't ask me anymore. I don't know. It's too much. It's too much. I don't know. Like, how do you combat taking over the world? How do you combat conquering the world as being a quite literal objective said by the government's propaganda arm, the propaganda wing? Yeah, I don't know. Like how? I don't know. We'll be here though. Fuck me.
I said Iran's a joke and has been turned into a joke. Perhaps that's the point. We'll get into it today. Friday, March 6th, 2026. Julie Kelly and Riley Moore will join the show.
How do you go on from conquering the world, right? How do we go on from Cuba is going to be ours by this weekend to, oh, let me just announce you who we got on guest, the good guest we got on for today's show. Just breezing past all of that we just discussed. Let's go on with talking about, I don't know, Julie fucking Hatta or whatever the fuck her name is. I don't know. Like, unreal, this guy. Unreal. I don't know who he's got on. I don't know. Well, we don't have to dive into any more of that. But again, talking about the instability of the region. Here's a couple more. There's a couple more videos as to show the extent of what is still taking place right now. This is put on by The Sun. Terrifying moment. Cluster bombs rain down on Tel Aviv as Iran launches barrages of ballistic missiles. Check this one out. Fuck out of the way, dude. Why are you sitting there? Again, that's just a little bit of the footage coming from some of the missile and drone attacks over Tel Aviv. Again, showing you the ability that Iran still definitely has to reach out and touch people. May not be on the level that they had, may not be to the extent that they had, may not be to the repetition that they had, but it definitely still has the ability to to reach out and touch people and impact families and kill people, just like we're doing in Tehran. This also, let me go into this one as well, because OSINT Defender, as we've been taking a look at recently, as this has been going on, put together a couple good aspects, a couple good notable positions that we should be talking about. Of course, this was one of them. 8 hours ago, this was reported, according to 3 U.S. officials, Russia has provided Iran with intelligence, as we spoke about earlier in the show. So that was reported here. What's this one here? There was a couple more that I want to talk about. This is an alarming one as well that I wanted to discuss. The U.S. Army has abruptly canceled a major training exercise for the headquarters element of the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, fueling speculation within the Defense Department that soldiers specializing in ground combat in range of other missions may be sent to the Middle East to join the war against Iran, sources tell the Washington Post. The 82nd operates at a brigade combat team consisting of several thousand soldiers, which alongside elements of the U.S. Air Force are kept on high alert, allowing them to undertake an airborne deployment on 18 hours notice with no prior warning for missions as varied as seizing airfields, other critical infrastructure to evacuations known more commonly as IRF, Immediate Response Forces. So again, the inability for our leadership, for the inability for this regime to rule out ground troops, coupled with the allegations, the reports of the CIA-backed Kurdish kind of ground invasion that has been speculated, to this now canceled major training exercises, to the 82nd, which again in a moment's notice within 18 hours could be deployed as far as an IRF is concerned. So this is something that we want to be taking a look at as well. This was probably 2 hours ago or so. So I'm not sure if there's been any updates as far as reporting is concerned here. And then obviously Red. I asked you guys earlier, is red typically good as far as the stocks are concerned? I'm just curious. I know we don't dive much into the stocks. I know it's kind of overhyped and overplayed as far as obviously the amount of involvement, the amount of play that the typical American has in the stock market, but obviously something that most people do point to and look at as far as one indicator of the economy, obviously. And this is 10 minutes after the markets opened. The New York Stock Exchange is down more than 860 points. Not sure as to what the rebound is right now. I can look at it. The Dow is down 95.95%. The S&P 500 still down minus 1.43% at this moment. NASDAQ down, what's that say, minus 1.53%. And the Russell 2000 down 2.38% at this moment in time. Trump media also down minus 4.47% and dropping fast, as said here on my stock ticker on the computer, as it says there. But again, still not much rebound as that's concerned. But definitely something that everybody needs to be taking a look at. Not only that individually, but the economy as a whole and the impacts now seen and faced by the American taxpayer because of the repercussions, because of the secondary impacts of this strike. There's some other footage here. Here's a jump scare that he posted just to make sure everybody was awake. At least 7 KCR-135R Stratotankers with the U.S. Air Force are returning to air bases in Israel after supporting fighter operations today, possibly by F-22 Raptors over the Persian Gulf. That was a couple hours ago, depicting more ongoing operations. This was according to Israeli news reports. Israel assesses that Azerbaijan will strike Iran and/or will widen the coalition against Iran as retaliation for Iranian strikes inside Azerbaijan yesterday. To date, Azerbaijan's relationship with Turkey, and more importantly, Israel, has strained their relationship on their Iran neighbor. Iran has close ties to Russia and Armenia, nations that Azerbaijan increasingly finds itself at odds with. Again, just kind of depicting the wider, the ranging aspects, how this is escalating into wider territories and getting involved in this. Here's another one from an hour ago. According to Barak Ravid for N12, a U.S. official has said that the second phase of the ongoing joint U.S.-Israeli operations against Iran is now in its second phase and is expected to last 12 to 14 days. Again, leading us back to whether or not this is part of phase two. Boots on the ground, incursions, taking of airfields, critical infrastructure, capturing of leadership. So again, what does phase two entail? What are we going to be looking at as far as that's concerned? We'll be keeping an eye on it, obviously. But we go on here. Here's some other reporting. Here's Azerbaijan's state security services said it arrested a number of people linked to criminal organizations and Iran who are involved in planning a terror attack in the capital of Baku. This comes following Azerbaijan's vow to retaliate for an Iranian drone strike inside its borders, again depicting the ongoing widening and stance of this conflict here. Why the fuck Condoleezza Rice? What the fuck? Condoleezza Rice is at the White House today for a, quote, Saving College Sports event, and it has been on the docket for a little while. People were speculating as to why she was at the White House, I see. And then again, this just from 11 minutes ago. According to U.S. Navy, the USS Gerald R. Ford CVN-78 transited from the Mediterranean Sea through the Suez Canal into the Red Sea yesterday. Again, just talking about and depicting more forces being sent into the region. And then there was this that I wanted to follow up on. We talked about earlier as Benny Johnson talks about how Cuba is going to be ours by the weekend and how that world domination seems to be on the menu as far as the Trump regime is concerned. Basically, we're just going to take everything and everything we possibly can while Donald Trump has the power, he seems, or he thinks, to do so. But this is depicting, again, the plight, the ongoing plight of the Cubans, the Cuban citizens that are now facing major blackouts, fuel shortages, food shortages. And again, this going along the lines of what Donald Trump said as far as Marco Rubio's involvement in this and what we could look at following Iran. Again, that's also corroborated seemingly by Benny Johnson's statement. So maybe he did get that as part of the Pentagon briefing from whoever he knows there. I don't know. I can't rule it out with any of the ridiculous actions, insane actions perpetrated by this regime. By this regime, I wouldn't rule it out. But here's just a quick clip, less than 2 minutes, on what's been taking place, at least as far as blackouts hitting Cuba. So again, something that we should be talking about as far as well as what's going on in Sudan and Africa on a wider ranging basis. I know we try to do our best at talking about all of these things and talking about all of the important things. It's just impossible. It really is to include and talk about everything. But again, I want to make sure that we do a better job here of not just limiting ourselves to Ukraine, Gaza, Iran. We want to make sure that we're talking about all of the plights of the people around the world that we should be speaking about. So again, trying to do a better job as far as that's concerned. Starting off here with looking at what the Cubans have been facing as far as at least the power outages are concerned.
In Havana, only the moon and the cars light up the streets. Almost the entire island of Cuba is once again plunged into darkness due to a power grid failure.
The Antonio Guterres thermoelectric power station has caused a power outage in the central, western, and eastern regions of the country. Protocols are currently being implemented to gradually restore power. The situation has led to the interruption of radio and television signals due to technical problems.
In addition to these outages, the population is experiencing regular power cuts that can last more than 15 hours. The crisis has worsened since the capture of Nicolas Maduro in January and the end of Venezuelan oil shipments to the island under pressure from Washington.
Which again, does that point to a clear plan? Does that point to a clear, like, okay, this is, a secondary to the Maduro regime's kind of change, or again, the incursion into Venezuela to oust Maduro? Is that, a secondary impact is, okay, let's also inflict as much pain and suffering upon the Cuban people until we can get to that, right? We're going to have to deal with a few other things on the world stage before we can get to that. But in the meantime, let's just kind of keep them in the dark. Let's keep them so that they can't fucking have fuel. Let's keep them so they don't have that much food. That way, when we do inevitably get to it, they're at their weaker, right? They're at their weakest stage, and we don't have to really worry about, people that are, strong enough to fight back in that sense. But again, this goes on. I got a couple minutes. This is only about another minute left, and then I'll get you guys out of here. I got to head off to my haircut. We'll thank some people that contributed to the show, and then I'll get you guys out of here. I appreciate you guys sticking with me as always.
No oil tankers have officially entered Cuba since the 9th of January. The outages are paralyzing the country's entire economy.
I'm not going to work anymore. I can't cook because the appliances are electric. And there's no communications. I can't watch the news. We don't have any lights, which are essential for life. Everything's becoming complicated. It's getting worse every day.
It's the third time this has happened. Since before we've learned to prepare, I bought rechargeable lamps. I have a refrigerator that makes ice cubes. I boil water. It's like a hurricane is coming, so I'm getting ready. Candles and lamps are all you need.
Because of US sanctions, the Cuban authorities have also suspended the sale of diesel, rationed petrol, and reduced healthcare provision in hospitals. Havana accuses Donald Trump of wanting to stifle the island's economy, which has been under US embargo since 1962.
So again, just to kind of update us, I know we'll kind of dive we'll kind of stick our toe in the water as that's concerned. We'll kind of make sure we can keep ourselves informed and up to date and educated on what's going on in that regard as well. So I do appreciate you guys. I'm going to get into thanking some of you people so I can get changed, get out of here, grab a haircut so I can get to my cousin's wedding tomorrow, not looking like a woolly mammoth. Would be great. That would be fantastic. So I do appreciate you guys. Let's get into thanking some people. I do appreciate everybody reaching out, or whether it's via Venmo, whether you signed up for a YouTube membership, whether it's on patreon.com/BostonBrian, or it's here in the chat ski. You guys have been friggin-tastic. And again, while I have the time, while I have a minute, I'm going to throw this on the screen as well, just to, again, show everybody the impact that you can have and do have on helping people all over the world. So again, we are up to 85% here of our goal for the NAFO campaign in conjunction with Help 99 with the 69 Sniffing Brigade here. We can see we've raised 17,433 euro, which is just an unbelievable number. Again, it puts a smile on my face every time I see it. Every time I continue to see that number rise, to see the percentage rise, it warms my heart to know that there's people out there willing to contribute, willing to share this out. If you can't contribute, And again, that, people haven't lost the sense of what's important and who we should be backing on this. So again, a big shout out to Help 99, obviously the boys over at the 69 Sniffing Brigade, and everybody who's had a hand at sharing this out to people, or again, if you've donated directly to it, thank you so much. And again, let's help get to the rest of the 15% there. So very much appreciated. So thank you to everybody again on Venmo over the last couple days. Thomas, thank you so much. Thank you, Jenny Faye. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Roxanne. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you to Moms. Thank you to Yakov. Thank you to Mike. Thank you to Roger. Thank you to James. Shout out to Nancy. Shout out to Bry. Shout out to V. Sawyer. Shout out to Ricky, Karen, Mark. And again, that's going back a few days, but I do want to make sure that everybody gets their highlights and everybody feels appreciated, because you should. I do. Thank you. All right, let's get into thanking everybody here on YouTube, and I'll get you guys out of here. I appreciate you today. What's up, Stoneflower? Thank you so much for the 5. I do appreciate your contributions there, as always. Thank you, Bo Rules 2012. Let's go with the $5 super sticker. Shout out to you and your cute little dog that I see there in your picture. Please give the dog a treat for me if you can. As always, thank you, Colleen, for everything that you do. Very much appreciate you guys that I see always coming back, always contributing to the show. Deb, thank you so much for your 1 gifted. Peter, thank you so much for the 5 U.S. lift restrictions on purchasing of Russian oil to India. The winners in this illegal war are China and Russia. Shameful, another good aspect of that. And again, a clear indication that we can't. It's difficult to cover all the aspects of this. So I appreciate you, Peter, scooping up where I failed to put that in the show. So I appreciate you and your contribution, keeping us up to date and informed. Nola and Corey, thank you so much, both of you, for the $20 contributions. Nola, thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you so much, Corey, for the super sticker in the chat. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Goes a long way at helping. Thank you, Jesse. Again, I'm not sure if he's still in the chat. I doubt he is, but I appreciate him stopping by. I appreciate him showing the support for smaller channels like that, not only with his viewership, not only with just being in the chat, but also, contributing directly and financially to the show. Just goes to show how, determined he is, how much he stands behind his word of helping smaller channels and making sure that we raise, everybody's voices. Again, if you agree with what they're saying, if you like what they're saying. And again, one of the people that was very inspirational, very meaningful and inspiring me to do this kind of work, to make sure that we did speak up, was Jesse and Brittany. So I very much appreciate them. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the contributions, as always. Thank you, Jeff, for the $5. Shout out to you. Thank you to Miss DePonzio for the 10 gifted. Very much appreciate you. Hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for being here. Tell Mom I said hi. Thank you to How to Live with a Smile for the 1 gifted. You guys are fantastic. Erin, Roxanne, thank you so much, and congratulations for your milestones. Erin, 18 months. Roxanne, 10 months. Thank you for the FYI. I appreciate you keeping me up to date. Thank you to Jess and Danny. Very much appreciate you guys, and Tegan as well. Keep up the amazing work. Tegan would like a happy birthday from one of your favorite people. She listens to your show every day. Keep doing what you're doing. As always, your voice is needed. Love you. Is it today? Is today Teague's birthday? Happy birthday. Oh, man, I feel like I'm unprepared for that. I should have had some fireworks and some flowers and a song to sing. I feel really, really bad that I don't have all that prepared. But Tegan, I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. You are amazing. And thank you so much to Jess and Danny for everything that you guys have continued to do for the channel. I very much appreciate you. And once again, happy birthday. Hope everybody in the chat's wishing Teague a very happy birthday. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you win on some scratch tickets, maybe a nice big steak for dinner, whatever it is. I hope you have a wonderful day. So thank you to all 3 of you guys. Thank you to Jin, keeping me up to speed, up to date. Thank you for the $2 contribution. Thank you, Victor. Very much appreciate you in the 10. Thank you, Brian and Mods, every day here. Keep fighting and we will prevail. Amen to you, Victor. Very much appreciate you. Slava Ukraine. Thank you to JD for the super sticker. Thank you to Vincent. Thank you to JD again. Siempre antifascista. And thank you to Carol, because all our family here. I appreciate you guys. Sorry that I have to kind of ditch out and run out on the hard out here, on the hard timeline of 4, but I hope you guys understand. I appreciate you, and I will see you Sunday for the main show. That'll be 1 p.m. here on the East Coast, 10 a.m. on the West Coast. I got to get out here. I'll see you guys later. I will see you then. Make sure you hit the like on the way out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you liked what you're hearing. If you liked what you saw, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. It's free to do so. It doesn't cost you a single dollar. It doesn't cost you a single cent to do so. And I appreciate the mods and the best chat on earth here for supporting the show. Thank you guys so much. I'm out of here. I'll see you guys Sunday.
You'll have a group of Venezuelan killers, street gangs, occupying the town with...
Oh, go fuck yourself.
Brian, you're drunk. You're drunk.
I didn't say mud, I said crud. You fall into some crud or something?
No, get those lights off! Off! Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off!
Cacophony, a crescendo, a finale, a coup de grace.
I can just tell you that a con artist is about to take over the Republican Party and the conservative movement, and we have to put a stop to it.
Bad news, bad news. Even when it's good news, it's bad news.
You're a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will
Taking him back to Nevada where he's wanted for banging horses. He says rectum damn near killed him. What in the hell was that all about?
Hey, you got a little chubby going there.
Never fight uphill, me boys. Never fight uphill. They were fighting uphill. He said, wow, that was a big mistake. He lost his great general. And they were fighting. Never fight uphill, me boys. But it was too late. To officially name the undisputed. When did this come out? We're inviting Americans from all across the country to come. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. God bless the United States.